Hello and welcome to the Cowboys Takeover podcast. I'm your host, Jason Kent. And this week, Aaron James and myself break down the post game for the Eagles Cowboys matchup, which I think, you come away impressed. I know we're going to talk about a loss, but I think what we saw from the offense, while there's points that sometimes you always could say in a game here or there, you want something different. But I think this new Dallas identity they're really showing the last few weeks is really big. But anyway, any week you lose to your division rival it is a big week, especially when you're kind of fighting and jockeying for playoff seeding. So let's bring in our co-host, Mr. Aaron James. Aaron James, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, Jason. Can you see me okay?
I cannot see you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm going to have to come back and join you in a few.
Okay, sounds good. Well, so yeah, what we'll do is I'll just go in. When you look at this week one, we'll kind of discuss the first half. We're going to go half by half, and watching that game yesterday, before we went live, I'd made a comment to Aaron James, and I'd said, man, it was really that first drive that Dallas had was so fast that I forgot they had the first ball. And to me, I think one of my key moments for that game, to me, I know we're discussing the first half, but you look at the first two drives for each team. Not the first two drives, but the first offensive possession and first defensive possession. For both of the teams, when you open up the half as Dallas and you come out, and you feel like your identity last few weeks, Dak's really been putting it through the air. I really thought they'd come out and try to throw, and they start out with the two runs. So you're automatically in the third and long, which makes it easier for the Eagles. And you don't convert and you got to punt. So you go 3 and out that first drive. And then the next possession, you get the Eagles starting at the 29. I'm sorry, they're 23. And they go 13 plays, 7 minutes and 51 seconds a drive. That just, pretty much, man, you start that game and you're really upset, and then the defense just gives up a super huge drive. And I think that was just, you're watching. There were some moments where you thought maybe Dallas was gaining some momentum, and they had some big plays where they did get them, and they had a point there, 1st and 15, 2nd and 23 early in that first drive for the Eagles. And the Eagles just did what I felt like Dallas couldn't the first time. They were converting. Let's see if we have Mr. Aaron James. Aaron, can you hear me? We good?
Yes, sir.
So I was just kind of talking, kind of what we said before, what I was talking to you before we went live, that I think that the first possession offensively and defensively for Dallas was not what you wanted to see in this game. Right. That first drive, I felt like I laughed. I'm like, okay, we get, throughout the game, the first half, I'm thinking, yeah, that's right. We're going to get the ball at halftime. We're in pretty good position. And then when we came out kicking, it was like, oh, I forgot how quick it was. And then on the other hand, as fast as that Dallas drive was, the Eagles put together a 7+ minute, 13 play drive, and aided by some, big plays, some 4th down conversions. I think that kind of, I know it was a great game throughout, but to me, that kind of set the tone of the game. Dallas just, I know throughout the game they got much better. Their offense really picked up, but they just couldn't put it together fully throughout the game. There's big moments, I think, that Dallas wasn't able to capture, and I think the Eagles were. And I think that, to me, is the story of this whole game pretty much.
Yeah, so, man, there's a lot to get to and break down pivotal moments. But so we were talking in the green room, and I agree. Mike McCarthy is big about coming out and wanting to run the football. But that doesn't mean and he always seems to do this, you run the first two plays of the game, right? Where our identity is a pass-first offense. It reminds me of, just to give another example, the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys. They're gonna, those are passing offenses, but they can run the ball effectively a lot of the time because the defense is in a zone or they're expecting a pass. Like that's what we need to present going into games. Pollard is gonna have success when we're set up as shotgun. We got 3-4 guys out, and they're expecting a pass a majority of the time.
Yeah, you can't come out 3 tight ends to start that.
Exactly.
First drive.
Our team, we don't have, unfortunately, a physical offense that's just going to move people. That's not how our offensive line is built. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of playing the recap here of the game and some of the highlights as we kind of talk through this. But so I agree. I was very frustrated at our 3 and out to start the game. Dak misses CeeDee Lamb on the 3rd and 6. So our punt team comes off. But I do want to say this. What does it say about Philadelphia, who went for it twice on 4th down in their first drive?
I don't like, to me, I think that's more of an identity to me, more because McCarthy does go for it a lot, a decent amount. I think that's an identity and who you are as a team. You trust that offense to go get that yard and a half. I think with the way they're built, they're pretty comfortable. And I think the numbers throughout the years have proved it. So I see your side, but I definitely don't play it as much as a lot of other people do.
Well, so you saw the tush push Eagles right on their own territory go for it. Now, at the same time, I was kind of yelling at the TV because I do feel like they gave Hurts a favorable spot on the scramble play.
I think it was. I agree with you. I thought there was an opportunity for them to. I thought maybe you use a challenge there. Maybe you don't, because I think there was an extra on that scramble play. I do agree with you where I think there was about an extra half a yard that they gave the Eagles, which makes that tush push maybe a second thought. Maybe you have to think about it at that moment. But that's.
Well, so then that's the first 4th down, and then the second 4th down on the Eagles' first drive. I was pretty shocked. They went for it on I'm just looking at this almost looks like a 4th and 4, or it's at least a very long 3. They go for it when they're in field goal range. They get the man-to-man coverage that they were probably looking for, and they hit it with Goddard on the outside.
Yeah, and it's pretty open. It's great. I thought, to me, I don't know how much better. I don't think. I think it was Bland on him, but I don't know. I don't know who, but I don't think you could have had better coverage. That one, it's not one of those tush pushes that's you just get and you're shocked. It was a great pass all around. That's one of the things to me. That's why that drive was so pivotal, because in Dallas, you're playing in Philly. You just had a 3 and out, and you had an opportunity to really make a statement early in the drive. Or real early, and stop the Eagles in their territory and give yourself plus position, and they didn't do it, and twice, you could have taken away points from them, so that's a 10-point swing in that drive, really, going for it, really there, because you, instead of not holding them to anything, maybe not 10 point, but you didn't hold them to anything. They got you twice on 4th down, and the second time instead of a field goal, they still get it and go for it, so it's kind of bothersome. That drive, I think that, to me, those 2 drives, I think, were huge in this game, because, starting out that first half, you're down 7-0. And I know we'll get into it later, but you start out the second half down 7-0, right away. So you're already playing catch up at, your first 2 drives of your first drive offensively, defensively of both halves. So it's, that's that to me. I think that's the biggest point of the game. I do agree. There's moments, but I think right there, I think those were the biggest possessions of the game that we weren't prepared offensively or defensively.
So I had texted you, Eagles score first, like you just mentioned. I'm kind of already deflated, like, oh no, like we can't create anything on offense again. Are we back where we were first couple of weeks of the season? And then Kevontae Turpin has a massive, 40-yard kickoff return,
big time,
and sets us up. So then we really start to drive and jive, and Dak's doing his thing. He's scrambling, he's running the ball, creating first down with his legs. Ferguson really came through in this game. I was really surprised early on when to see that they were given a backup. It's a backup DB that they had on CD because Rolby, one of their new cornerbacks, was out for the game. So that you see them number 39 there. I'm forgetting his name, but
I know one was Eli Ricks. But yeah, it felt like they just, even when they brought in, Bradbury's replacement, I felt like they kept him on the outside. They kept Slay. Very rarely I see either one of those guys really go inside on CD. Which was shocking.
Slay did follow him a couple times. So they were very kind of intentional about that. We saw you kind of see one sack here by our defense. Parsons. How do you feel about Parsons' game?
He made an impact. He definitely, had a sack and a half. Definitely, I feel like there was late. I think it was that last drive by the Eagles. There was a second down or third. I think it was a third down, where he got held, and it was very obvious that he didn't get called. But he was definitely creating opportunities off that edge, and as they did get to Hurts quite a bit. They were hitting him even when they weren't getting sacks. So you were really impressed with the way that offensive line played. You even saw, Lane, who doesn't give sacks up. They even got, half a sack on him. I was pretty impressed with that, with the way the whole defensive line played and the pressure that Micah was still able to get, kind of moving all over that defensive line.
Yeah, Dak was, running for his life a lot in the first half. I'll talk more kind of about that as we get closer to breaking down the second half and end of the game. But a lot of third down conversions, a lot of penalties on the Eagles' first half. I would say in the first half, we looked like the more disciplined team.
Yeah.
Not a lot of penalties against us. And, just a lot of confidence. Turpin gets his touchdown. And we kind of swing things back around, and we come back up 14-7. Force put some pressure on the Eagles to come out, and Hurts did a lot of damage, and most of the damage was in the pocket.
It was until his tush push in the red zone. He did have he made some nice throws. He definitely, if you're watching that game, you definitely didn't expect. I didn't think Dak would outplay him that much. But to me, yeah, when you look at the two, Dak really outplayed him. Hurts didn't look. He seemed to there's opportunities. I felt like the Dallas defense did a good job of really containing him. He didn't get much in terms of rushing. Outside of I felt like the quarterback sneaks. They really, even on some of those drives, I felt like there were a few times where they were intentional about not letting him pull it and run. I felt like there was a definite concern by Dallas's defense not to let him beat you. But it just was tough because, the drives that they were able to put together were just very long drives.
Yes.
It wasn't like it was a few play, a quick hitter. They were sustained drives, and a few of the ones, we gave up 28 points. I think two of their drives, we had multiple opportunities to stop them on fourth down. And it just felt like when, the plays were needed on our side, we just didn't make them. And I think the big one, when you're looking at the first half, when you're looking at Dallas's last drive, right? You have Gallup, after we do convert earlier, as we're seeing here, on a fourth down, maybe not our last drive, but our second to last drive. Dallas converts on a 4th and 1, a big play to Ferguson
at midfield with 2:34 left.
Yeah, so at this point you're driving and you're feeling confident it's a tie game. You can go up with the way Dallas is looking. You're thinking maybe you go into halftime 21-7. And then come, this same possession after you complete that fourth down, a couple of plays later, you got a 3rd and 3. And Gallup just drops it. It's a tough play. I think that's a pivotal moment. It's tough to look back and say, okay, 100% they score.
Right.
But
Right.
that's 100% a ball you have to catch. And if you make that play, you have all your timeouts. So the thing there, the good positive was you didn't allow the Eagles to score after the drive. Aubrey just looks fantastic. He did hit a post today, but after his first missed extra point, kids looked amazing. But then, not only that, you do give the Eagles an opportunity, to go down and score at the end of the half, which was really tough. So to me, it was a very big play by Gallup. I think that's one of those things when you've been talking a lot about wanting to see him make those plays to Gallup. A lot of it could be just that trust may not be there, and we're starting to see it.
Yeah, there could be some of that coming in. We saw Tolbert have some meaningful targets in the second half, and he also had a touchdown. So, I think there was a lot kind of going on in that third down play. I would say, we get the 4th and 1 at midfield, and by the way, we're kind of surrendering. Like, hey, if we don't get this, we're basically giving the Eagles 7 points, right, to go midfield with just over 2 minutes left. You're kind of conceding going into the half down, whether it be by 3 or whether it be by 7. So first half, you already know it. Both teams are playing to win, and neither are playing it safe. And, big kudos to Mike McCarthy, for having the guts to come out and play aggressive. A lot of our 4th down plays were passes, and in a lot of those situations, they were also man-to-man coverage. So I'm sure they said, okay, hey, when we get in this position, this is what we're doing. So I am upset at what the drop by Gallup. But again, we don't get to that point and get those 3 points without that 4th and 1 decision. So I'm proud to get those 3 points, and then we come back.
Yeah,
we stop.
That's such a big moment. Like, I get it, and I understand. And I think, to me, that's where we'll discuss it later. But you hear a lot of people discussing some of those 4th downs late in the game that instead of taking points, we did. But to me, you got to look. Yes, they're positive, but to me, that Gallup play is such a big play because it's such clearly you need to catch that ball. It's 100% you can't drop that ball. Like, it's a first down. And you don't know what you could do after the play there. There was nobody near him. He just dropped it. So to me, like, that's a big play. That's something, if I'm Dak, I have to start thinking, maybe target CD more, target Cooks more. You did see Tolbert make some plays. Turpin's definitely a guy on this offense now that can create as well. So I don't know. Maybe Gallup, maybe the trust isn't there but you need to catch it. That's a ball that's 100% of the time you have to catch. You can't let that one go. Not in a game like this, because that's every possession matters.
So part of our struggle is that we don't know who our number 2 is, right? Is it Gallup? Is it Cooks? Neither have the production of a true number 2. Ferguson, to me, has solidified the tight end position with this big game that he had. Would you agree with this? I agree
100%. He's definitely a guy that seems to be coming into that role, and I think he's going to benefit the most from this new play calling. Really, this I guess newfound confidence in Dak to just let it rip. To me, I think Ferguson, and to an extent CD, even though what we know what CD gives you, it just seems since they started to unleash Dak, CD and Ferguson have been the main guys that have really been positive to catching yardage wise. So to me, I think Ferguson's definitely solidified himself, and he could have the rest of this season. He could be a top 3, top 4 tight end.
I can't really argue with there, especially, I have TJ Hawkinson in my fantasy, and with Kirk Cousins out, I'm thinking about dropping him because he just doesn't have a reliable quarterback there.
Not with that kid. Dobbs will figure it out.
So, that was the first half kind of commentary. We go in 17-4. Hurts you don't know how if he's injured, if he's healthy. Going into the locker room now, coming out, Sirianni told Aaron Andrews that Hurts was in his office, being Sirianni's office, uh, getting an IV, and my wife was kind of like, "Why do you need to go in an office to get IV?" So maybe there could have been a little, numbing that took place during halftime for Hurts. I don't know, and he didn't really look all that limited. If I'm being
Not at
honest,
all.
in the second
No,
half.
he looked like his usual self.
Yeah,
He showed no ill effects in that first drive, coming out scrambling, just throwing a beautiful pass to Devonta Smith over Bland, who kind of, it's that
there
might,
was a lot
I'm
of pushing and
looked at.
shoving on that play. Yeah,
Yeah, but he still, that's a big time play, but it was a big time play by the Eagles, and to me that was another one of those keys that I discussed earlier. You're coming out of the first half, um, or the first half you give up that touchdown after you go 3-and-out. In this drive, you kind of, you have it was very frustrating. There was so many opportunities for Dallas to win this, and you come out that first half and you kick the ball out of bounds. So you
hmm
have a mistake by Aubrey, you put him at the 40, and you have a third down where you can't stop him, and then you get that 29-yard tutter to Devonta Smith. And, I think that to me, you're up 20, you're up 17-14, now you're down. So you're like, okay, you kind of feel positive with the way Dallas ended, the first half. They're looking good, and you really expected Dak to come out. And Dallas had some missed opportunities. I think on that first drive, there was, they were making some good plays, but then you had that Dowdle run for 18 yards that was brought back for a holding. To me, I think that was the big play of that drive, because now you're 1st and 15. You don't get it. You try to end around with Turpin, who kind of slips and stumbles, and so that's throwing. So now you're really behind the chains, and you're not expecting to get it. And Dallas kind of proved just to get some yardage, you get a punt. So okay, now you're down, and then just like that, the Eagles now had 10 minutes of possession time. They go 11 plays and score an 87-yard touchdown.
that's
Um,
a killer.
that was, you felt like in that second half, Dak had one possession in the third quarter. Two if you count. He did get it right at the end. Um, that was a big time thing. I think that was huge. And then when you go down on Dallas's next possession, you go 13 plays, you go 71 yards, you get to that, that first and goal. And to me, this was where I was at my TV screaming at McCarthy. Like, I get, to me, it was a close enough game at that point, and you've done enough going for it on fourth down. To me, I think this was a pivotal drive. It's tough for me to be mad because all the other fourth down conversions put you in position to be here. So you got to kind of go with it. But to me, I thought that one, when you're only down 28-17, it's two possession game. You don't really need the touchdown. If you kick a field goal, you still have that second possession. And when they
Mhm.
went for it there, I thought that was huge. Because you're at the 1 yard line. Yeah, if they stop you, they're at the 1 yard line. And we saw what happened. Dallas was able to come back right after that, get a quick 3-and-out and get the ball back. But now you're already behind the 8 ball, because you already gave up 3 points. So now you, instead of going for a
Yeah.
possession to tie the game, you're still down 10. So, or still down 11. So it's one of those things. I think that was one of those moments. If McCarthy probably go back and turn, he would. Um, but they didn't. I think big moments. Eagles capitalized, and Dallas kind of, when they needed the points, they couldn't get it, and when the defense needed the stops, they just weren't there. The big moments.
Yeah, I mean they had the right play call with that Schoonmaker, you know, called back touchdown. The the thing is that I think it was Ferguson that came in from the outside. He didn't properly shield Blankenship
Yeah, he
from.
ran a little deep instead of, he didn't undercut it enough.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and the thing with the Eagles, and you just saw in the third quarter how much time the team can they can drain the clock like no other team in the NFL.
Yeah.
because they run it so well. When they get in that third and short, 2 runs, what's coming with the tush push, which, by the way, I think I know. I think I found out and discovered why they're always successful with the tush push. Um, Not only do they get low and are they strong, but if you pay attention to how quickly Kelsey is able to snap the ball, like when he snaps it's like a blur. Like he gets it into to Hurts's hand so quickly, which is because he does it so quickly, and I'm sure they practice it so much. If you recall against the Commanders, they fumbled during the tush push. So that also should tell you that they're trying to snap that ball faster than any other normal typical snap. Because if you think about it, you for the tush push to work, not only do you have to get low, but if the offense moves first before the defense, again, you've got the momentum. So if you beat them to the momentum, you're gonna get the push.
Yeah,
It's just
it's a
something
great play. It's a great play for them. They've mastered it. I've seen other teams run it not as well. Um, so it's one of
now.
those things. I'm not sure how, everybody feels differently, but it works and it's a big play for them in their arsenal. You got to
Mhm,
give them.
mhm.
They said it all game. They only need 9 yards because if they get to that 4th and 1, they're doing it and they're converting pretty much at a 95% clip. Um, so I think it puts a difference on offense and defense, how you play. Um, but to me, I think that's the pivotal point. You're down 17, 20, you're 28-17. You do get a quick stop, but then, you get the punt, you get a pretty quick touchdown. And then on the 2-point conversion, you kind of felt, when it happened live, you're ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
Dak got in. It goes back, he steps out. So now it's a 5-point game. And, the defense did step up at that next drive. They did give a 3-and-out when the Eagles, you kind of weren't sure what the Eagles were going to give you. And then again, Dallas, they needed another touchdown and just couldn't figure it out. So it just felt like, the big moments, and I agree. I think there were some penalties on both sides I thought were kind of questionable, especially in a game like this. Um, but it was tough, man. But I think you can take away a lot from a game like this if you're Dallas. I
Mhm.
think when you look at it, did they lose? Yes. Did they but to me, when you look at it, you showed it earlier. I think when you look at the differences on both sides, should Dallas have won watching the game? If you just watched the game and didn't know football, you're like, man, Dallas is probably they're winning this game. Dak looked fantastic. I think Dak looked like the Dak from MVP year. There were not MVP, but that year he had his first 4 games and blew out his leg. He's
Mhm.
starting to look like that, and he's starting to move around pre-injury. Like it was watching him move around this game as a dude who has been very critical of Dak on this podcast. Um, I wanted to see it this week, and I think there were moments that I don't totally blame him for some of the sacks. I think there are some plays, but I think he had a great week. To me, I can't put much of this blame for this loss on Dak. I think he played a pretty good game and he looked really good. And I'm excited. This is one of those games I know I said we needed to have, but I feel like there's a lot of positive takeaway against a team like Philadelphia, who is such a good team. I think there's a lot of positives to take away, and this could have been that performance that Dallas's offense needed to really propel them for this second half push. I while we lost and it stinks and we're 2.5 games back, I think there's so much positive that you have to take away going forward. The Eagles are a premier team in the NFL,
Yeah.
so to me, it's not complete loss of words, complete like agony if you're a Dallas fan, I believe.
Uh, I agree. I agree. I mean, it stinks that we lost when when we performed this well. We held AJ Brown to 66 yards. Um, we DeAndre Swift 2.4 average carry, and he had like a long of I think it was 12ish. Um, so even with that long, he still averaged 2.4. That is pretty impressive. Hurts under 210 yards. So look, we are 5-3. Eagles are 8-1.
Yeah,
If
that's
we
tough.
if we can run the table for our next matchup, and if the Eagles just lose one against the 49ers or against Bills, um, we
Oh,
can we have a
yeah.
chance. We have a chance to make that run. We got to really be perfect though the rest of the season. To your point with Dak, he's still on a hot streak since the Chargers game, right? We're
Yeah.
jiving. No setback from a QB performance. Um, so we just have to keep it going, and it. I think we'll just have to see where everything stands between now and a month from now when we face the Eagles again. But we do have to take care of business with the games we have between now and then.
100% agree. I think in these next 4 games, I really you can't go anything less than 3-1. But I looking at that schedule, they should really be a 9-win team by the time they play Philly again. They have to sweep out. I think at this point, I think you kind of block out any thoughts of the division. Really kind of win because it's tough at this point. Like you
Yeah,
said, you kind of have to hope the Eagles lose some. So I think you have to
yeah,
take it by game. But you're right. Um, I think this loss showed us a lot about the offense that we were unsure of. Even with the Eagles' pass defense, I still wasn't sold on Dak. But Dak gave me a reason to believe in him. These last 3 games, he's been very good. Um, and now that he's starting to extend plays again, he's starting to use his feet, kind of show that Dak that he was when Cooper first got here. He's starting to place the ball, extending plays, getting his guys open. And he's doing what you and I think have been saying since all season. He needs to feed CD. CD should be getting, 7 to 15, 7 to 10, 12 target touch or catches a game. He needs to be getting targeted 15 times a game. He's your number one guy. He's a playmaker, and he showed it yesterday. Um, he
it
really you got to get CD to the ball.
CD 191 yards. If I'm you know if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm like, how in the world can we allow CD to have that much success when he's their number one guy?
Agreed. They couldn't, and he showed he's a difference maker. I think that's the big thing.
Mhm.
And to Chris DeFrancisco, appreciate you watching, bud. Dallas, to me, Dallas didn't run the ball well. What makes you also confident with that part of the offense? I'm not confident in the run game, but
Mhm.
to me, I don't think. Yes, you have been on the Lamb train. I think to me, I said it all season. Dak is the he's got to be the guy that wins you this. If you're going to be a winning team, it has to be Dak. So I'm okay. I would have liked to have seen maybe Zeke get this year. It would have been nice to see Ronald Jones if he was give Pollard somebody else. But I assumed, Pollard this season. I just wasn't sure what he could give you as an actual number one guy. So to me, I'm not really worried as much. You're going to get what you get out of the run game, and I'm happy with it because I think there are plays to be had there when Dak is looking like that. But to me, I think you have to be that. You have to be a passing offense like you were with Kellen Moore. You agree with
Mhm.
that, Aaron?
Yes, yes. I'm not worried about the run because we're not a running team. It's not part. It doesn't make or break whether we win a game. It's not how we win a game. We win the game by passing the ball and by
I
playing
think.
solid defense.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. That is. We have to be a pass first team, and I think to me that's something that is really changed over the last few years, probably the last 15 in the NFL. You don't have a lot of those teams that run the ball much anymore. This isn't
Mhm.
your '90s Dallas Cowboys. This you're going to be throwing and playing that defense, and um,
Oh,
so
and
go ahead.
yeah, well, I forgot to mention, or I meant to mention, with in regards to the Eagles and their tough gauntlet schedule that they have upcoming. Yeah, a lot of Eagles fans, they're confident in going into that KC game, coming off their bye. They got to go to Arrowhead, tough place to play. And when you have a defense that gives up as many yards as the Eagles have been, Andy Reid, you're going up against the best offensive coach, the best quarterback in the game. Patty's gonna light it up. He's gonna
I
light it up. So
see.
I expect them to take care of business.
I don't think to me if you're Dallas, and I even think like I get what you're saying. We can't even look at them. To me, if you're Dallas right now, the next 4 weeks, you don't even pay attention to what the Eagles are doing. I know there's always it's going to happen. It's life. You get even before the internet days. But to me, if I'm McCarthy, I'm preaching. Let's focus. Let's focus on your schedule. Let's focus on what's ahead of you. Don't look at um don't look at anyone else because you need Dak to come out. You need Dak to perform. You don't want to be, the Eagles win, so we have to win here. You need to focus on yourself. So to me, I'm not even looking at the Eagles and who they're playing, or if they win or lose. To me, if I'm Dallas, you want to look at the things you need to do to perfect to get to that Eagles game. Because once you
Mhm.
get to that Eagles game, you then have a gauntlet schedule, and they need to be playing their best football going into that next meeting with the Eagles on, um, on in December, because
Yeah.
if when you're Dallas, they I'm pulling up their schedule right now. I just had it up. When you're looking now, you have the Giants, Panthers, Commanders, Seahawks, and then Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. So if I'm Dallas, I can't even, or even a fan, I can't even look at that side. I got it. Let's focus now. Let's perfect everything over these next 4 weeks. Let's get to 9-3, and even give ourselves a shot
Mhm.
at the division, at an opportunity to maybe get a number one seed. Because you don't know at that point. Once you play the Eagles again, then we have an opportunity. But right now, it's week by week, they got to focus on themselves every day.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess as just a fan, I want that game to mean something more than just our potential wild card spot. Because if the Eagles run the table, we're really just playing that game for not only pride but our seeding in the wild card, right? Depending on how close Seahawks and Niners are going to be, our seeding for the a wild card position, we want to be, we want to be that number 5. So then we go up against a Tampa Bay Bucks or a New Orleans for the first um, wild card game. So I mean, we're going to be breaking down a lot more of that. The conversation is going to have to change, and week by week as we get into December. Um, but this game we got to squash it. Kind of still stung this morning waking up. Um, Eagles fans are excited and they're hype. They finally, uh, beat Dak Prescott in a rivalry game where he had a 7-1 record coming into the link. Played his tail off. I was upset at a lot of the referee calls. One call in particular that blew me away was it looked like Jalen Hurts threw the ball. Oh, he threw it away over AJ Brown, and they called I think it was a pass interference, and they gave him a first down.
Yeah, with
Um,
on that Gilmore play. Yeah.
yeah. Now at the end of the day, DQ. I don't think you can be happy if you're DQ. You gave up 28 points in total. Like that. That's not a. That's not an elite defense.
Multiple fourth down conversions.
And so I'm like, how did we give up 28 points when Hurts only threw 207 yards and they only rushed it for like 103 or something like that?
That's when you don't stop on fourth downs and you don't get. Yeah, that's the issue. You give
Yeah.
up when you give up touchdowns instead of field goals, and when your defense, breaks out, on fourth drives, you give up multiple fourth downs and
And
can't stop the field goals. That's
let's
recipe
let's
for
not
disaster.
let's not forget, right? The Eagles put the ball on the ground was 3 times and they recovered
Uh, yeah,
at least twice.
they have two. They recovered two of them. Yes, and a big one there in that I think it was the second to last drive the Eagles had, where it would have given us great field position right after we had the punt. Um, when they had the ball at the end, where they
Mhm.
Swift and AJ Brown ran into each other. Um,
So everything, everything went their way. Um, what the local radio is saying about us is that we have yet to beat a quality team.
which is a very fair statement.
It is fair, and
It is
it
when you
stinks
look at it, it
because
does. And we have a loss to a team that only has one win. So when you look at it, it's a fair statement. But I think Dallas, with listening to the sports talk here, you're going to get the homers, and a lot of them don't really know football. They're just.
that's true.
I'm not going to talk bad about the fans here, or at least the callers of the radio, because everybody knows about them. No, but I think you got to be, if you're a Dallas fan and if you're McCarthy, you feel positive these last few games, these last 3 weeks you've played. Dax really, and the offense has really stepped it up. I think you expected the Eagles to score. It's just can they make the stops? I think it'll be different next time. But I think you can't harp. Jimmy Johnson. I know when he was back in Miami back in the '80s. Every time he talk about it, you can't let the officials. You can't leave it up to the officials. So at the end of the
Mhm.
day, yeah, there's bad plays, bad calls on both sides. I think when you look to it, I think it was late in that second to last drive, Dallas's last significant drive. I guess the last drive was pretty significant, but I know there was like a second and long or third and long with the hands to the face penalty that they picked up, which
Oh,
was
that
a
one.
big one. So I
I
think,
lost my
but
mind.
but at the end of the day, they had an opportunity to win it, and they were first and 10, I think, from the 13 or inside the 20, and I think they last play they ran outside the 30, so they definitely missed their opportunities. But with all that being said, I think you have to be happy with the way they played, at least offensively.
Yeah.
Your big guys got sacks. You gotta feel confident that, or at least hope that next time, the numbers are on your side on some of those fourth downs, and you stop them the way the Eagles were able to stop that 2-point conversion. Table stop you late in the drive and fourth down. I hope next time, one of those fumbles bounces your way. It's a
Mhm.
game of inches. And when you look at that, the fourth down that they missed, the 2-point conversion that they missed, the fumbles that they just barely missed, what, total yard or two. So, big plays make the game. And Dallas came up on the short end on, I think, a lot of the key moments in that game. And that's why they lost. Um, but it wasn't like it was San Fran all over again.
Mhm.
And I do believe the Eagles are probably the class of the Eagles are the class of the NFC right now.
They are.
Um, but they're a good team. So Dallas is going to have to figure a way to take it away. They're going to have to figure it out.
We can't let this episode end without giving Terrence Steele a hard time. That guy, Hassan Reddick, just was getting around him, it seemed like, over 50% of the time. Um, I know we'll plan for that better in our rematch, but especially in our last drive with no timeouts, Terrence Steele, it wasn't really Dak's. Dak can't block for himself. So you got to give him some grace. And I just wanted, I guess my point being, Terrence Steele just kind of really disappointed me in one of the more meaningful games of our season so far.
Yeah, I think there was quite a few. To me, if you're Dallas and when you win the games, if they would have come out on the other end there, you end up 3 yards short. If they come out in those at that other end, I think a lot of those moments aren't as big.
Yeah.
But when you come out on the losing side, those moments weigh heavy on a team in a big game. But I still think there's a lot of positives to be had. Now, if you come out next week and lay an egg against the Giants, I think all the positives are for naught. Not whatever the saying is, but I think this is definitely an opportunity to build on it, and I fully and 100% expect this team to build on this. This, while it wasn't the outcome we all wanted or needed, I think there's just a lot of positives that can be had, and I do think CD is going to get much more involved in this offense. I think Ferguson's going to get really involved more going down this stretch. I do believe this offense now has found an identity, which is so big for the way they look the first few weeks. I think if they were playing like this against that Arizona team, I think it's a much different game and a much different season. But I'm glad they found what they are.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we have for you listeners today. A heavy Monday, after a big rivalry game. But like Jason said, he's Mr. Positive today, carrying us, being optimistic going forward. We'll be back at it for our pregame this week, Thursday night. I want to remind everyone that you can find us on your favorite podcast platform, including Spotify, where we do broadcast live on YouTube and Facebook. Subscribe, follow. We appreciate all the support. For a lot of our listeners, give us a like, leave a comment. We would love to talk about things that are interesting to you or important to you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week for another episode of Cowboys Takeover. Thank you, Jason Kent. I'm your co-host, Aaron James. Till next time, have a good week. We'll catch up with you Thursday. Talk about the G-Men. God bless.